Hey garden friends, welcome back to Flower Patch, and today we are going to visit the side garden again. I'm keeping you updated probably monthly, if not maybe a little sooner, but you can see how it changes so quickly throughout the season. And we'll continue to do that up until it's probably pretty drab. And we'll talk about changes sometimes and what I might plan, how I'm going to battle the gophers. They're tremendously bad this year. So if you have any suggestions for me in fighting them, I would welcome anything you have to say. I've tried traps. I have tried deterrents. I have tried all kinds of things. I've tried some said to feed them the dried potato flakes. So far, nothing's worked. So I'm putting up with a lot of damage. So I will be doing some alternate gardening next year, and we'll see how that turns out. Anyways, so let's get touring. Okay, let's start at the same spot we did last time, right here on the sidewalk. Now, forgive the mess. I have been rushing to get my irrigation system, my drip irrigation system, all installed before we go on vacation. And it's important because it's going to continue to be hot, and I want to put it on a timer, and then I don't have to worry about having someone come to water. So there is why everything's kind of a disaster, but we are here to look at what's blooming. The Bosco Bell Rose, the first flush of blooms has pretty much ended, and I've trimmed back most of it, and it will continue to bloom. I'll put out new buds. And then up here is my peace rose. It's doing beautifully. It always gets quite tall there. And even though the gophers are kind of bad in this area right now, I'm working on that. They seem to have left it alone. But the Tess rose on this side is just starting to bloom. This supernova clematis is still blooming. It has not stopped since it began back in early June, late May, I don't know, but I'm just loving it. I want to get another one. I think I said this last time, but I want to get another one to put in this one. This barrel with this rose. This rose is blooming sooner. It's the same as the other, but this one I used the organic Rev along with I fertilize these every other week because in containers the goodness leaches out faster than if it's in the ground. My Plum Perfect, I just pruned off the faded blooms. I really am thinking I'm going to put this in with the Love Song Rose, and I'll take you to see my Love Song in a minute. Some of my flowers are bending over. They're reaching for the sun. These daisies will come out, but the Black-Eyed Susies are doing great, and I could provide some supports for them. They kind of got mushed around when I'm putting my hoses down in here. And down here this is one thing I love about the Roseanne hardy geranium, is it just scrambles, but it blooms these beautiful purpley blue blooms all the rest of the summer. I prune it here and there to deadhead a little bit so it keeps on blooming. And over there, this Bosco Bell Rose also, I just had cut the buds off, or the faded blooms, and I need to give it a dash of fertilizer. I just did a blog post on Monarda bee balm. I love this stuff. It does spread quite vigorously underground, but it's very easy to pull up. It's shallow rooted. My Awakening Rose, I keep trimming back. This right here is asters, and they keep encroaching upon my rose, so I keep cutting them back. Those are quite vigorous too. These daisies up in front will probably get thinned out, but they're doing beautifully. They're starting to fade. I need to deadhead some more. But look at these ones. These are my favorite. These are the crazy daisies back here. I love that fluffy ruffliness. I started a bunch more of these, and I have them put around in other parts of my gardens. Here is that nearly wild rose that I said I was going to dig up, and now I'm kind of thinking, you know, it's doing so great here that I just may leave it. It's just funny how sometimes I thought, you know, usually it doesn't get quite as tall, and I'm thinking that maybe I fed it more this year. I don't know. Or it's been a crazy year too. So down in there, I planted some Verbena bonariensis that had come up in a pot. I have some Nicotiana. This area had a bunch of daisies. And as I was laying my hose, you can see the irrigation hose right down there. And I will mulch over that and hide it, but I planted some things in there to replace the daisies. The daisies were doing great. It's just that I had to pull them out to lay that flat, and I had to pull a bunch of other things out. But since I have so many, it was no great loss. My crocosmias, I think I told you about this last time. I love these. I bought another one. It's up front. It's in the oranges, though. It's not the red. Just love this one. Some more. These daisies all freely reseeded themselves. I didn't plant them here. I just let them come up, and I will thin them as necessary. There is the peony that was blooming so beautifully last time. Now it's done, and I've deadheaded it. So my delphiniums, these come back every year, and they're doing just beautiful. My dark blue one and my purple one out back, I think they got killed by the gophers, so I may have to start. I got another dark blue one. It's up front, but I'm not sure how it's faring. It just seems to be struggling. I have this is a little teeny tiny hydrangea I planted. It was a proven winners. Which one was it? Oh, Quickfire Fab. It's finally, I thought I had lost it. I did lose its companion. I had bought two, and they were little. They were too tiny for this area to get started good. So I put a larger one in my back garden, and it seems to be doing great. So I will thin plants out around this so it doesn't have to compete, and maybe it can take off. I wanted something a bit taller here, and it may be too close to my delphinium, so I may have to move it. But I wanted to create a visual barrier between. I'm on the road, so between my garden and the road, but we'll see it. It may not thrive there, so I may have to move it. More asters. These are a fuchsia pink, and they start blooming later in the season when a lot of other things have kind of faded away, so they provide a bright spot of color. Here's some volunteer hollyhocks. I love this shell pink. Isn't that gorgeous? The bees are especially fond of hollyhocks. And here's that chocolatey colored foliage plant that I don't know the name of that I was showing you last time. It just does beautiful. I just love that color. Now you notice I actually put the irrigation down here. Normally I don't have irrigation down here. This just all kind of thrives without it. But this way I could plant something, like maybe like another hydrangea or something along here, because now it will have irrigation, and I will continue the irrigation into this raised bed. I have squash and tomato and 2 dahlias in there. It was kind of a trial area. But this is beside my studio. So let's go up and we'll walk down the inside of the garden, side garden. Now we're up at the top again. So my pink petunia, wave petunia, is doing fantastic there, and even the viola is still blooming. I could probably prune back the viola a little bit and it'll keep going. But look, this is my a trumpet vine. This one I started from seed. I had collected from an acquaintance whose I've always admired theirs in front, but I was trying to turn it into a tree form instead of it being climbing all over the place. It was always getting so rampant. Sorry, I tripped. And looking kind of crazy. So I thought I would make it into this standard, and it's working. I'm loving it. So, win. I have a lot of fails, but that's a win. Okay, this yarrow is doing beautifully and it's staying upright. I may put a stake and make sure it stays upright, but it's just, look at this beautiful color. I put in the Colorado blend this year, which was more of the peaches and yellows and whatever, and hopefully that'll take off. My Abraham Darby rose is doing beautiful. And here, it's in a container, which I am going to put, all my containers, I'm going to run from the soaker, or the drip line, little drip lines into them. So when I turn on everything, when I turn on the water, everything gets watered. Even the barrels. So over here, let me just do one side and then down the other. Come up it. I get going too fast. I think I'm going to bore you guys, so I try to get through it. And really, this is for my reference in the winter, so I can think about what I want to do. Here's this echinacea, doing beautiful here. I repeat flowers throughout my gardens that do well without any help from me. And echinaceas are one of them that do really, really well. That little sedum I had down here that I showed you last time, it was struggling. I dug it up and put it somewhere else, thinking it was just getting worse and worse. So move it and see if it thrives elsewhere. The Cats Pajamas nepeta has been doing, let me move this plant. Oop, bee getting in here. Go away, bee. Has been doing great. It just keeps blooming and blooming. I deadhead it, and then it reflushes. So there's one down there that I just deadheaded, and you see how it's just plain, but it'll be just blue in a week. Full of buds again. Loving it. These black-eyed Susies here are probably going to have to go because I have a lot of things back here that need sun, and they kind of block it. So I have lots elsewhere, so these will probably go, but I love these ones. This is a sport of, or came from, I had a package of seeds called cappuccino, and these huge blooms, and they have the, the reddish coloring instead of just yellow. And these ones seem to be the darkest ones, but even these ones over here have some of the genetics of this. And I could get seeds in. I could get these. These just all reseed themselves and I let them come up. Now I could wait to pull some of them up until after this has gone to seed and collect the seed. Or I could just buy more of the seeds. Now here is the poppies I was telling you I had got that were called Amazing Gray. And a lot of them came out almost burgundy, but they do fade away to the gray color. And they are quite pretty. The bees absolutely love them. You can see down there easier. I've got some agastache or stashy, however it's pronounced, and other things. And I put the yarrow down there. The one I said was the Colorado blend. Also, I grew lots of Nicotiana from seed this year, and I put some in here. I thought it was shorter. The one in the back has gotten quite tall, and I'm surprised. I'm letting the foxgloves go to seed back here so they will reseed themselves. These red poppies weren't supposed to be red. I had tried to put in some white ones and they're red, but the bees are loving them. So I'm letting them stay. I want to aim for some shorter growing plants up here. So I've got the nepeta that stays real short. So I wanted like a little bit taller here, not quite as tall as these poppies. So I'll aim for something different next year in that area. More crocosmias. This delphinium is starting to fade. I need to cut off that bud there, but it did well. It did well this year, and I'm pleased. These daisies have been doing just gorgeous. Just keep blooming and blooming. I haven't even really deadheaded these yet, but and it stayed a little more shorter than some of the others, which I'm really thrilled with. So there's my Phyllis Hardy geranium. I had pruned it back hard because it was really going crazy. Here's a little one of the flowers down here, if you could see that color. Anyways, It's super pretty. Here's my Zephyrin drone climbing. Druin, however you pronounce it. I never know. People pronounce it differently. Now here's a surprise. This is a Salvia. This is Rockin' Blues, whatever. This is a Proven Winners one that is really quite pretty. I had moved it from somewhere else where it did not thrive. I'm kind of on the border of the zoning for it to be hardy, and the two Rockin' Fuchsia or whatever did not make it through the winter. This one got covered deeply by pine needles accidentally, and I think it's that heavy mulch or cover that really helped it to survive. And here it comes. So I will make sure to mulch deeply on that one. Here is another Cats Pajamas nepeta. It's doing beautifully. Sorry, I hit something as I came down, made me bump. But my Mystic Spires Salvia has been doing great. I need to deadhead it. I took a cutting and poked it in the ground, and I'll show you how that turned out. I thought it had died, but I got a pleasant surprise. I'm loving this yarrow. I bought this last year, and I put it in the ground. It's supposed to stay short. I'm loving that. Like I said, I want to, along the edge, or like right behind the Cat's Pajamas, to have something a little shorter, and this has shown great promise. I love it. So that's an option for it, and it comes back every year, so that's a plus. My Crown Princess Margareta rose. I still haven't decided if I'm just going to dig it out and put it somewhere else that it might retain its color better. I might put it in a spot where it gets afternoon shade. Sometimes that'll help them to maintain their coloration. It's supposed to be a real peachy, orangey color, and it just is kind of a insipid, ecru. And I want something different, so brighter. So that's still in the works. But my Warsaw Nike is needing deadheading, but is still blooming beautifully. And the first flush of blooms is the most major, and then it will reflush as I deadhead it. So here's another one of those yarrows. This area is still needing tidying up. I've been so busy with the drip irrigation that everything has gone a little bit wild, but it's okay. It's all part of the process. So my Grandpa Newt rose is fading a bit because of the hot days we've been getting, but it's still blooming. I'll deadhead it and it'll reflush. This poor little clematis, it's actually rooted way over here. I accidentally yanked it out last fall, so I was just thrilled that it went ahead and came back and bloomed. So let's go this way to my little patio garden. This is in front of the studio. These erodiums or erodiums, or however you pronounce it, I love these things. I dug one up and tried to transplant it. That didn't go well, so I'm not sure. I'm just going to have to buy some more because I want to put some up in front. They stay short, but they bloom all summer long. And the Corsican mint is doing beautifully as the filler between the flagstones. I put a begonia in the ground hoping it would go ahead and bloom. Last year I just didn't get hardly any blooms. And this year, here's another one down here in a pot. Gets plenty of water, the proper sun. It's growing healthy, but we'll see if I get any blooms. Now here is a conundrum. These were doing absolutely gorgeous. These are my Oriental Poppies. In fact, the one to the right had put on a new fresh bloom, and then all of a sudden this. All I could think is maybe the gophers got in there. I haven't tried to pull up and see if the roots are gone. I watered them healthily yesterday, so hopefully maybe they got a little dry. I don't know, but I have a feeling because the gophers have been really bad over here that they got in, and because the bottom is probably rotted out of this barrel, and I know this tree has rooted into the ground through it. So we'll see if they recover. That's just the saddest looking thing. Okay, so up there everything's doing beautiful. As I said, you can still see my pipe as it is threading its way through the garden, but everything's gorgeous. Oops. I'm gonna kill myself yet if I don't watch where I'm going. I got this little rose. This is Pam's Pink. This is a found vintage rose. Got it at Antique Rose Emporium, and I got it, of course, because it's called Pam. So it does, I wouldn't say, it does struggle with black spot and powdery mildew, but it still has the prettiest pink blooms, and I still enjoy it. I transplanted some Blue Star Creeper here. It's a little shocked, but it's going. And then I put some Lamium here to make a nice ground cover. I showed you in the last video this open and blooming, and this is the pretty red. And I probably will maybe stick that in here too if I can find it. And then here, this one is the fuchsia. This is early morning. It's before 9 or a little after 8. So that's why they're not open. They open during the heat of the day. Now here is one of my origins, or however they're, origerons. I can never pronounce it. But this one's called Wayne Roderick, and it's supposed to be an absolute pollinator magnet. And I got this at Annie Annuals, and it's doing beautifully. I'm loving that thing. So here you can see the backside. You can see where there's my delphiniums. And there, we'll get a closer look, is the Love Song Rose. In my After the Freeze video, I showed where the one was completely dead. This one, I did not know. I had a little speck of green on a cane, and I didn't know if it would survive. And look, it's back, and I'll take you up there. Now my, what is this? Oh, it's one of those scented flowers. Gardenia. It was looking so sad, so I put it in the ground. I'm thinking I didn't dig it deep enough, obviously. And over there, my viburnum is also struggling. I'm hoping it was just not getting enough water, and now that I've got the irrigation set up, it will do better. Some Robenia bonariensis coming up through the daisies. I'm enjoying that. I have some more coming up from seed just right down here. Let's take a look. So that's doing beautiful. And that'll bloom later on since it's coming up so late, but it will bloom. So these are larkspur, and I'm letting them go to seed. Some of them will cut back hard so that it'll reflesh some blooms, but I hadn't intended to have them here, and I just let them go because the hummingbirds and the bees just love them. But I will collect seeds, and I'll put them in areas that I want them, maybe further back in here. So those daisies are splaying because I had to, not only they do need to be divided, but I had to put the hose through there for the irrigation system. So I will thin these out. Here is my golden feverfew. I just love this thing. I love the color. I have lots of feverfew, but this is the only one that has this chartreuse foliage. I planted some sweet williams down here, so those ought to be pretty. Beautiful scented plant. Oh, you know what? I forgot to show you this plant. Let's go back over there really quick. Sorry. This is a Louisia. Isn't that pretty? I love those colors, and it has just bloomed and bloomed and bloomed. This penstemon is pretty much done, but I was hoping it would go to seed, so I just left it. And then behind it was the, I thought that was Veronica, but it's not. What was it? It's a, oh, doggone it. I'll have to find it. I just had pulled it up. But, yeah. But that's the one that had the purple spikes. It bloomed for the longest time, and I just had deadheaded it and left one cane or stem to seed, because it will reseed. This one down here, this is a Veronica, but I need to move it. It's getting too shady here. You see it's got powdery mildew. I'll show you the one on the other side. There's the rest of my Sweet Williams, I need to get in the ground. They're still in their container I seeded them in. That was one of those winter sowing projects. Look at this is my Jubilee Celebration rose. This is why I love this thing. It blooms like this all summer long. Not all roses do. They'll have big flushes. This one is never without blooms. Like even my Bosco Bell, usually it's in flushes, but this one it's always got roses on it. So some of them need to be deadheaded again. I keep up with deadheading. I was thinking, because it wants to flop, I have this one support on it. I was thinking maybe one of those metal obelisks and have it grow up like the Test Ubervilles. Okay, here's the other one I was showing you over there that was getting too much shade. See how pretty it can be if it's getting the proper light. So here is one of my echinaceas. This one is called Katie Saul or Summer Sky. I thought I had lost this one. Thankfully I didn't, and here it is. And I just love that color on it. It's a peachy color and less pink. So let me step back in here so we can get up to my Love Song Rose. Look at that, the sun's coming out. Let me see if I can shade it so you get the true color. Isn't that beautiful? You see why I love it? That lavender is just amazing. And here is where I was thinking of putting that Plum Perfect rose in the barrel with it. And they're 2 shades of purple, so I think they'll be beautiful together. Here's the other side of my Nearly Wild rose. Isn't that thing just gorgeous? I love the single roses. And it also blooms nonstop. I've got more echinacea growing up here. Another one of those tried and true. It's self-seeded there. Let me get out of here without stepping on something. And all the black-eyed Susans doing well. They've gotten quite tall. And let me see, down in there you can see right back there is the yarrow. And then the Nicotiana is right there. And I'll really quick, after a bit, I'll go show you the one in the back just so you can have a reference. I planted from seeds, some nepeta. And this is the white. So you can see that. It's white nepeta. So hopefully those will fill in. Those are supposed to be hardy and overwinter. This is my Orion hardy geranium. I'm going to make a support, one of those rings like I made for my peonies, and put around and let it be, because that way it'll keep it together so it has a better display for me. So more of my Crocosmias. That one's leaning, so I need to stake it up. Hopefully eventually this obelisk will get covered with that rose. That's my plan anyways. I deadheaded the Jupiter's Beard, but more's blooming. I have a white one, and I don't remember where I put it. This Agastache, which I have it kind of tied up, I hope that was in focus. That is called also hummingbird mint, and you just saw why. Hopefully you got plenty. I couldn't see, anyways, the hummingbird. I am going to move this because it's blocking the view of the roses behind. It gets so tall. So I will move it further back or somewhere else where it can really shine, and just a better place for it. I want it, again, something a little shorter in this portion here, so the roses aren't blocked. But here I planted some more of the nepeta. Down here it's just getting going. This is some I took divisions of, and that's one thing nice, nepeta can be divided. And this is my creeping chamomile, which this one gets water and this one does not. And you can see how much shorter it is. I had it between the pavers, and it's very easy. You can just cut it back with shears or a weed whacker to keep it lower growing. In fact, you could even make a whole lawn of this, and it smells of green apples when you step on it. So it's just super pretty. And that, my friends, is the side garden. Let me turn around and show you the view down the pathway. Down the pathway to the studio. And we'll see this how it's blooming in this late July. This is July 22nd. So I hope to see you in my next video, and I will go and take you down to see those other units or other flowers. So here is that Nicotiana. I think this thing is 4 feet tall, but it's pretty. And oh, the scent in the evenings when it's cooling off after a warm day, it is just gorgeous. It reminds me almost of lilies, but it is just a great sweet smelling plant in the garden. So there you go. Hopefully those others will be as pretty, and they're also very popular with the bees. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the side garden. And if you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification buttons, thumbs up, like button. I don't know what's down there, but it really helps me out, and I can continue to make these videos. And also, if you don't know, I have a blog where I share a lot of tips and tricks for gardening and instructions for the things that I like to grow and how I like to grow them. So check that out if you have a chance. It's flowerpatchfarmhouse.com. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.